Over the weekend, I joined the game jam, and this is what I ended up with. The goal of the game is to fill your bucket up with as many valuables as possible, use the earned money to upgrade, and go and then pick some more stuff in your bucket. Even before the jam started, I knew I wanted to take the time to get the right idea, the one that I was happy with. It's one of the most crucial parts of any successful game jams or hackathons. It's a difficult balance to get right, the one between something that's fun, something that fits the theme, and it's also doable in the amount of time and skill that you have. So I went also looking for the inspiration in other games that could fit the theme of scale. For example, Katamari Damacy, where you roll increasingly larger items into a ball. A very simple but incredibly fun concept. Superliminal, which is having a lot of fun with the concept of space and scale in a way that only a video game can do. And Grounded, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the video game, I guess. I also went looking for the winners of previous Kenney Jams to see what they did with that year's theme. Just the word scale can be interpreted in many different ways, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why the organizers have picked it. It can be size or weight, climbing like scaling a mountain, musical scale, business scaling, measurement scales. Fish also have scales, and so on. The entire Friday evening was spent dumping every idea that came to mind on a board, hoping that one will stand out. I knew that I wanted something tiny enough that I will have time to actually make it fun, balance it, squash any bugs, and polish it. Even though the time is short, the game should still look finished. It took until Saturday morning to decide on an idea. Items falling from the sky and the player catching them in a bucket, with also the ability to left click the items to make them bigger and more valuable, plus a simple upgrade system to make it more engaging. And I was happy enough with this. It was small, simple, easy to understand, and it had potential to be fun. Okay, let's get started. First off, I wanted to make the play area a stone tower, so I took the Kenny's wall element from the modular dungeon pack, removed the ground bits in Blender so that I can stack them until I got a very rough looking tower interior. But it's enough to sell the idea. This immediately reminded me of the old Icy Tower game, if anybody remembers that little gem. Then I've added some items from Kay's resources pack, a piece of wood and a gold bar for good and bad items respectively. I coded a simple item spawner script with a timer that spawns items selected at random at a random position within the bounds of the play area. The bucket came from Kay's RPG Bits asset pack, and I've made it follow the mouse on the x-axis while it was within the bounds of the playable area. Then I made the items actually fall down using Godot's physics, and so that clicking the items actually makes them bigger or smaller. Probably too big now, but this actually looks funny. While testing it, I realized that I'm actually just avoiding all of the worthless items and that there isn't really any incentive for the player to reduce the scale at all. At the time, this was an issue for my game design because I wanted the player to scale things both up and down. So I was considering if I should make the bucket the entire bottom of the screen or make it move back and forth on its own. This would make the scale the only important thing, which felt fits the theme of the jam better, but it would also take away from the gameplay and the fun of the game. At this point, I decided not to make any decisions yet and just kept working and hoping that it will become clear with time. And it did. I decided not to change anything and just keep it as it is. And not even mention to the player that there is an option to scale things down with the right click. So it kind of turned into an Easter egg now. Next up is adding a scale on the right side of the screen which will indicate how full the bucket is. At first I went with using 2D sprites in 3D space, but this brought issues with sprites being hidden behind one another because of how close they are on the Z-axis and the angle to the camera. I've probably spent around 2 hours trying to get the scale to behave correctly, before realizing that I'm just making my life far more complicated than it needs to be and I could just use the plain UI elements instead. Which is what a normal person would do. 20 minutes later, I had a working weight scale correctly displaying the remaining bucket capacity. Once the bucket fills up, the round ends, and we want to show some kind of an overview with run statistics like number and value of items picked up and the run time. This is also where the player can choose which upgrade to get with the wealth they acquired, so let's put in our first purchasable skill, the item rarity. Only now we need more items so some of them can be rare, and the spawner needs to be aware of the item rarity when randomly picking them. With all of that in, we currently have this. which is kind of looking like the basic game loop is complete. But it's already Saturday, and we have 9 hours left in the game jam. So, time to drink a can of Red Bull and power through adding the main menu and credits, sound and music, music options, more upgrades for item scaling and bucket capacity, instructions on how to play, the indicator for the value of the item just caught in the bucket. And I wanted to make the items rotate as they fall down and animate the bucket with particle effects just to make that catch that much more believable. And finally, a thumbnail image, which is just a scene with some props from the game meant only to take a screenshot. Then after some playtesting and balancing, I've uploaded the final version 20 minutes before the deadline. So, a conclusion. There are only two things that I would do more if I had more time. Some kind of visual feedback for when you click the items and they become bigger. As the main focus of the game, it does seem to lack something extra. The stuff just turns larger, and with a sound and a sparkling particle effect, it would definitely feel more satisfying. And also a better itch.io page. When I saw some other submissions and the quality of their itch page, it really added to the experience of playing the game, so it's certainly going to be a must-have for my next jam. But honestly, I'm quite happy with the result over these 2 days. I've probably spent around 30 hours, and for the most part it was fun. And big shout out to Kenney and Kay for organizing the entire jam, and the Mad Lads are currently going through 600 submissions, so yeah, that's dedication. Anyway, if you want to play the game, the link is in the description, and thanks for watching.